Conducting audience research and feedback is crucial to the success of any media product. So before starting the production of my short film, it was essential that I identified the specific demographic that I would aim my film at, and identified the age, gender, and socio-economic of this target audience. I decided that my primary target audience would consist of males aged between 12 and 18 from within the B, C1, and C2 socio-economic groups. This aided me in defining the viewing preferences of this demographic, which I could then adhere to in my production to make my film more successful and effective to this audience. Additionally, I also utilised audience research and feedback to practically develop and grow my ideas regarding the narrative, storyline, structure, effects, and specifics of my short film. After developing my initial ideas, I conducted my first target audience questionnaire, and the questions aimed to identify aspects of my initial ideas that were successful or should be changed, and to aid me in deciding on aspects of my film that would be most appealing to my target audience. This included aspects such as the title, casting, dialogue, storyline, music, and editing effects. Target audience questionnaires offer many advantages in terms of effective audience research, such as allowing the participants to present their opinions without being influenced by the researcher, while also allowing the researcher to obtain a variety of both qualitative and quantitative data. With these questions, I was able to cover a range of technical aspects as well as features of the genre and storyline. This questionnaire format also provided me with an easy way to obtain and record data, which I was then able to present and convert into graphs so that it could be analysed. These results played a key role in aiding me to form my ideas for my short film, and in establishing which aspects are the most important to my target audience, upon which I should focus upon. For example, this questionnaire revealed that my target audience suggested that, in order for my film to be successful, I should utilise a dark colour palette and emphasise and portray the protagonist's confusion and disorientation to the audience clearly, and also use the absence of sound and dialogue to expose the boy's isolation. I reviewed the data that I received and analysed the results in detail, writing what the response was, the effect it has on my film, and how I could incorporate these ideas into my film. To gain more in-depth feedback than my questionnaire, I also decided to conduct audience research using a focus group interview. This would enable me to discuss topics that featured in my questionnaire, plus any additional topics that I needed guidance on, and refine my developing ideas for my short film. This interview method provided multiple benefits when conducting research and gaining audience feedback. This research technique allowed me to have a discussion with the participants regarding their responses by asking follow-up questions, developing the discussion further, and gaining more in-depth results than my written questionnaires. Using this approach also meant that I could convey my ideas and concepts with the participants more easily, as they were also able to ask me questions regarding my film. I also found that the interview method gave me a more accurate view of my target audience's opinions and viewing preferences, including the specific cinematography techniques that my target audience find effective, such as blurring and handheld camera movement to portray the boy's disorientation. This builds on the feedback that I received from my questionnaire. I film my interviews so that I could review them at a later date and utilise the feedback I was given more effectively throughout the planning, production and post-production stages. Even after I finished planning my short film, it was still crucial that I continued with audience research and feedback to aid in ensuring the success of my film. For example, I conducted audience research regarding the title and title font of my short film, as these aspects needed to appeal to my target audience and so were crucial to the success of my product. To carry out this research, I conducted an audience film title survey to aid me in choosing and developing the most effective film title. For this, the participants selected the film title suggestion that they thought was the most effective out of the options that I provided them with. This allowed me to obtain their preferences out of the title suggestions that I had previously been given throughout the previous stages of my audience research, aiding me in selecting the title that was preferred by the majority of the participants and reflected the post-apocalyptic theme of my film. In this case, the results I received indicated that the audience preferred the titles Forgotten and Left Behind in equal measure. This meant that I chose the option that best reflected the storyline of my film, which was Left Behind. This research method allowed me to quickly and easily distribute my survey to a large sample of my primary and secondary target audiences. I utilised a similar approach when conducting my title font survey, which required the audience to simply pick the font that they thought was the most effective. I was then able to determine the most effective font from the results I received, and utilise it in my short film and film poster. Additionally, I also utilise this approach when it's selecting the most effective film poster design. From this survey, I concluded that my target audience preferred my second film poster design idea, so, consequently, this is the poster design that I chose to create. After completing the first stage of production and post-production, I was able to conduct audience feedback on the first edit of my short film. I used another focus group interview to gain my target audience's responses and opinions on the work I had produced so far, and to highlight any areas of my production that were unsuccessful and needed changing or improving in my final edit. In this focus group, the participants stressed that the tracking camera movement of the newspaper shot in the third scene of my film needed to be slowed down to ensure that the text could be read, which I then did in my final edit. This research method allowed the participants to discuss their responses to my film and the following questions that I asked them that highlighted specific areas that I needed the most feedback on, such as the addition of music and filter effects on the flashback sequence of my film. This format also allowed me to determine which responses and preferences were shared within my target audience and which were individual. I consider this to be the most successful target audience feedback, as I gained practical guidance due to the fact that the audience were provided with the first edit to watch. I was also able to assess the success of my film in terms of my target audience's perceptions and viewing preferences, and the impact it had on their ideas, giving me an indication of how well my production targeted my audience. It is clear that audience research and feedback is crucial throughout all stages of producing my film, as to ensure that the product that I was creating was tailored to the viewing preferences of my intended target audience, as this significantly contributes to the success of a media product.